Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and you are all members of that jury, because there are those who claim that Jesus never had a fair trial, that no defense witnesses were ever heard, that it was all just a Pharisaical plot, that Jesus never had a chance, we have called all of you here today to hear the story of Jesus, and in a few weeks declare a verdict. In truth, Jesus was originally tried and condemned by his own religious leaders, and he was then interrogated by Pontius Pilate of the Roman Empire. And you will notice only enhanced interrogation techniques were used. It was before them, in front of them, that Jesus himself admitted to believing himself to be the Messiah, the Son of God, and even declaring at one point, "I am," which is blasphemy. Now the accused lived out, we are told, the words of the prophet Isaiah. We are told he grew up like any other boy. As a man, he was like any other man. There seemed to be nothing special about him. Oh, he did some healings, he performed some miracles, he made the despised feel good. And he did have a small band of followers. But remember this, they all deserted him when the going got tough. Well, except for a small group of women, of course. Now, there is talk that Jesus bore the sins of all humanity on our behalf. Some believe that as the Son of God, he came to suffer and to die so that sinners may be spared the punishment for their sins. Now, I don't know about you, my fellow sinners, but I wouldn't go through all that suffering for anyone. Certainly not for people who don't deserve it. That is not justice. Now, all of these things are claimed, but we need proof. We need to hear the witnesses. We need to hear people that actually knew the accused, heard the accused, and were healed by him. Now, you can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. Therefore, in the coming weeks, we will interrogate disciples and common people who claim Jesus changed their lives. But be prepared. You, as members of the jury, these are not the nice people you're used to. Some have lived pretty despicable lives. Keep that in mind. Be careful. Don't be fooled. All of them have been declared hostile witnesses by this court because they, as supporters of the accused, will try to convince you that the claims made by Jesus are true. You will hear from Matthew, a tax collector. We all know that tax collectors are servants of the Roman government. They're sneaky. They're dishonest. Listen carefully to what this tax collector will tell you about what Jesus said when the religious leaders expressed concerns about the type of people with which Jesus was associating and having meals with. The next week, we'll hear testimony from a woman who claims to be healed of a spinal condition. Now, you might sympathize with her suffering, but keep in mind that Jesus performed this work of healing on the Sabbath, a direct violation of the law and our Bible. We'll hear from Nicodemus another week. He's an exception to the riffraff the other witnesses are. He's a scholar. He's a member of the Sanhedrin, which is the ruling body of the Hebrews. Surely, he hasn't been deceived by all of this stuff, by this God pretender. Of all the witnesses, I am sure that Nicodemus will be able to show us how Jesus' teachings fall apart under proper scrutiny and examination. keep an open mind. Now, we hesitate to even bring you the next witness scheduled for that following week after Nicodemus. Why? Because her lifestyle was so scandalous that she shouldn't even be alive. She should have been stoned according to the law. Now, we will not offend your sensibilities with the details of her adulterous behavior. Just remember what she was accused for. It is Jesus, after all, who is on trial, and he well should be. Instead of affirming those who are upholding our biblical standards of morality, our religious leaders, Jesus goes in and he forgives this woman. And he says the scandalous thing, if any of you don't have sin, then leave. He offends our religious leaders in public. Instead of affirming those who were upholding our biblical standards, as I said, Jesus forgave her. Jesus forgave her. By what power can he do this? Blasphemy? You will hear her claim that this has totally changed her life. But remember, people don't change that easily. Then on Palm Sunday, our next witness will be Mary Magdalene. And if there ever was a witness to the character of the accused, she sure is one of those. Not much different than the adulterous woman, that's for sure. She makes all sorts of miraculous claims, but mind you again, she comes from a sordid background. Always remember the context and where these people come from. Now, we don't want to prejudice you, but bear in mind, even if she was healed and all of that other stuff, the stress of her seeing her Savior crucified would surely have disturbed her fragile emotional balance, therefore skewing the veracity of her testimony. Remember that. Then on Maundy Thursday, we will bring you video testimony of one of Jesus's favorite disciples, Simon Peter. This guy is a man of contradictions. You're going to have fun wading through his testimony, his logic, his contradictory behavior in the face of adversity. At one point declaring he is the Savior, and then denying it, and then declaring it again. Again, we bring these witnesses so that they can testify to the character of Jesus. And again, remember, the company that a person keeps says a lot about their character. Then on Good Friday, there will be a video summation, closing arguments. There will be closing arguments and summary of all of the testimonies that you have heard. And then you, as a jury, will be charged to decide Jesus' fate. Now, we realize that this may seem like a very long trial. Many Sundays. You could be doing other things. This may seem like a long trial, and that it might be asking a lot of you to hear all the witnesses. But remember, you have a solemn responsibility, because you will decide whether Jesus is who he claimed to be, or whether his life, as we contend, his death, as we contend, and his resurrection, as we contend, really have no meaning. You will make the final decision. Is Jesus who he said he was? Do his life, death, and resurrection have any meaning for you, for us today? That's your solemn duty. Exercise it well.